Today, we are going to be talking about how to go from dreaming to doing. So, if you're one that you have been having goals in your mind, but you just cannot seem to move towards your goal, then this is definitely for you. I'm going to be sharing with you guys some strategies on how you can get unstuck and move towards scratching those goals off the list. This live stream is going to be able to really help you guys. So if you are one that you like, Alicia, girl, I've been having this goal on my list for the past 2-3 years, for the past year, and I cannot seem to hit this goal. Something needs to change. Okay, I'll say this: it's probably like 2 reasons why you haven't really been able to really hit those goals, or you haven't really been able to define what those goals are. Is definitely is because of lack of, one, clarity, and 2, strategy. Right. And so those are like 2 of the most important things in your career, is for you to be clear on what you want, and also you to know what is it going to take, what are those action steps that it's going to take to get you there. What I want to talk about you this morning is, one, what does it really mean to set a goal? Because it's one thing, guys, for you to just want something done, right? Or it's one thing for you to just have a desire for something to happen or change. It's another thing to set a goal. This quote, I'm pretty sure you heard all the time. It said that there is a difference between a goal and a wish, right? And so the way that you're able to identify whether or not you have set a goal or a wish is, for one, you know that if I have a goal, I've already started to think about and actually plan how to make it done, right? But if you have a wish is just a thought. A wish is, ooh, that would be nice, or ooh, I would like that. And so a lot of people think that they have goals, but you don't really have a goal. You just have a wish, meaning that there is some desire for something to actually change, but it hasn't moved past the thought. And also, when you have been able to set a goal, that means that it has moved past the idea of a thought or a wish, and now you have actually started to kind of find out what is it going to take for you to hit it, right? So now I'm going to ask this question again. Let me know, now that I've been able to help you to see a difference between a goal and a wish, because I don't want you guys thinking, yeah, Alicia, I have all these goals, right? But in reality, it's just a wish. It's just something that you would like to happen, but it hasn't really moved past the thought. The first part of this live stream was me wanting to show you how to take action. How are you able to move past the thought of, okay, I have been able to get clear on what it is that I want. Now it's time for me to make a plan and for me to actually start to take the steps there. Now, so I'll say this: I am a huge overthinker. And I'm one that you can have different things about you, right? That you just are, or you could just prefer for things to be a certain way. But I also believe that you have the power to be anything and anyone that you need to be, right? So I said that because I am a huge overthinker. I'm the kind of person, I have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. Like, I will think something all the way through. One, it could be a good and a bad thing, because one, I've noticed even with the clients that I work with, it's a good thing for them, right? Because I can help them to really like deep dive into something. But sometimes in my life, for my own goals, it can definitely be a little hard because I can overthink it to the point to where I will discourage myself. Meaning that this great idea, this great thing that I thought I wanted to do, now that I've started to really like overthinking, now I've started to just discourage myself. Because a lot of the times when I'm overthinking something, me overthinking something usually leads to fear, right? Because I have now started to overthink this thing so much in my mind that now I have literally talked and thought myself out of what I said that I wanted. And so I want you guys to start thinking and start to even ask yourself, do you overthink yourself? Do you think yourself out of your goals? Do you outthink yourself out of those things that you wish? Because I say this, even if you are one that you don't really have a goal yet, all you have is a wish, a goal starts with a wish, right? So I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. The only time it becomes a bad thing is when you can't move out of that wish phase and you are not able to move into having an actual goal set. But what I had to realize, and something that God had to show me within myself, me overthinking stuff was really just a lack of faith. Because, like I said, me beginning to overthink really led me to fear. And majority of the time, all fear is just things that you think will be, right? So all of these kind of scenarios in my mind, I said, okay, this could happen, that could happen. And guess what? It could very well happen. But I got to the point to where I did not want to base my life on what could happen. But I had to realize that if I decided that it was something that I desired to have, that everything does come with a risk, right? So it comes to a point where you start to think, hey, the goal has to outweigh the risk. The goal has to outweigh the risks. And we don't avoid risk, but we just plan for them, right? And so if you are one like me that tends to overthink a lot of different things, it's so important to be able to get clear on, to be able to see what is the fear here. Is the fear a root of, hey, I could fail? So it could be a fear of just, hey, it may not go well, right? Or is the fear of, I'm afraid of what everybody else is going to think, right? Or is the fear of, I don't think that I have enough, right? Like really getting clear on what the fear is, because it's so clear, because now you can sit down and think about, okay, now that I've been able to identify what the fear is, let me sit down and think about, is there any proof of fact that is supporting this fear that I have? And chances are, guys, it's not, right? But if there is, now you can sit down and really think about a plan for that risk. Next thing is that your goals need to be more specific, okay? When you are moving from that wish stage and you're moving into like setting an actual goal, at first it may not be clear. But this is why it's important to take action, because the more action you take, the more clear it will become. You can't always get clear on what you want by just trying to sit down and think. Again, all this thinking will cause you to overthink. But what can happen is if you say, okay, I have some kind of like skeleton of my goal, right? Knowing, okay, what is the next action step? Not what is the next thought, right? But what is the next action step? So an example I want to use is this. So let's say that you say, okay, in the next year, I want to land an actual director role. You may not know where, you may not know how, you may not even really know what field, but you like, I know that this is the next move for me, right? So you don't really have, so that is now a wish. You don't really have everything there, but you have something. So the next thing you need to start to think about is, okay, do I want to land that role here? Or should I be thinking about trying to find this role somewhere else? Now it's time for you to think about, okay, so am I good in the current field that I'm in, or is it time to change, right? So as you're starting to think about it, again, all of these questions and all these thoughts should not go back to what feels comfortable, right? I'm a big firm believer that your goals should not be based upon what feels comfortable, right? Because the purpose of a goal, right, is for you to get something that you want, but the purpose of a goal should also be that you grow as well, right? So I don't want you guys trying to pick these goals that are like really easy, but because the difference, you have to realize it, right? If you only want to pick stuff that seems like, oh, this thing is right here, okay, cool, because it can be very convenient to pick a goal that you know is good, right? But I want you to realize that your goals are not just about you getting something. It's about you needing to grow, right? It's about you needing to allow yourself to stretch, right? Because I've been there, right? There were certain goals that I had. You guys know I worked in HR for over 10 years, right? Well, there were certain goals that I wanted, and it happened. But once I reached that goal, it was like, oh, okay. Because it did not cause a change on the inside of me. It did not cause me to grow whatsoever. It was just too easy of a goal. And a lot of times you can find yourself starting to hit goals, but once you hit that goal, you still don't find that sense of excitement about it. and you start to feel frustrated. But you feel frustrated because you know that you want something more, but you keep picking what's safe. Again, you know you want something more, but you keep picking everything that's safe. And so that desire for more is there, but it's also that fear of, no, let me just pick the things that I know I can get. And that's how you end up with everything except the things that you want. And so I want you guys to move away from that. Don't be afraid to set those goals that are big. Don't be afraid to set those goals that are impossible, because 90% of the time, the goals that you set have already been accomplished by somebody else. So that lets me know that if somebody else has done this, then it's not impossible. But I know a lot of times it doesn't always feel that way. You be like, child, I can't do this. Though there's 2-3 million other people in the world who have already accomplished this goal, but you have told yourself that you, for some reason, can't. And so even though you haven't said it with your words, you also have said that 2 to 3 million other people are more worthy than me. And I don't think that's true. 2 to 3 million other people are more smarter than me. I don't think that's true. Right. And so I tell people, you don't have to be so safe in the goals that you set. Okay. I just began to say that one of the things that you need to do is you need to set clear goals. They have to be clear. And I want to add this. They don't have to be clear to everybody else. They just got to be clear to you. They just have to be clear to you. And people spend so much time trying to make their goals so clear to everybody else, and you're wasting time trying to prove your goals, trying to validate your goals to everybody else, that you're losing focus on you putting forth the action on your goals that you need to be doing, right? So your goals only need to be clear to you. Now, the next thing I think I already kind of talked about was not being afraid to address those risks that are there, and not being afraid to address the risk that may come. Like, for instance, if you're like, man, I really do want to change careers. I have been in my field for a really, really long time. I'm ready for something new. Okay, so here we are. You're like, okay, I know that I want to make a move, but child, everybody else getting laid off. So I think I should just chill right now. You tell yourself, just as I thought that I was going to look for another job, baby, everybody getting laid off. So let me just chill right now. I think I'm good. No, friend. That's the wrong mindset. Again, being able to address the risk. The risk is, yes, right? People are losing their jobs right now. The other risk is it could, right, take you a little bit longer to reach that goal, right? But now it's time to just plan, right? First of all, what you need to do is you need to create an exit strategy. What is the strategy? How soon are you wanting to actually leave, right? Is there anything in your role that you want to do, right, before you leave? Is there any new skills that you want to learn in your role? Is there any new relationships that you want to build in the place you are in now that you can use in your next role? So now that you're starting to get clear on what the exit strategy is, now it's time for you to be able to see, okay, what is the timeline? Again, you being able to put a timeline on your goal is powerful, because having a timeline is going to hold you accountable to something. Again, that timeline can change, but put a timeline on it, because now you have something to work towards other than a wish. Because once you put a timeline on something, that makes it real. You're like, okay, I already told myself in the next 6 months, I'm going to be gone. Right. And also having a timeline on something also helps you to be able to identify how aggressive you need to be to reach that goal. So if you say, Alicia, I want to be gone from my job in the next 3 months, friend, you need to get to work. Versus you say, okay, I would like to leave within the next year. Now you kind of have an idea. Okay, now I can really start to build those relationships. I can learn some new skills. Like, now you have a pace as to which you need to actually go at. I do want to bring out another side of that. Sometimes, not all the time, it's just me, I have a relationship with the Lord. There are going to be seasons in life where you may have to move without a really clear path. And I say that because I'm not saying that you should move like this all the time. But I do believe that there are seasons where God does want to stretch you're facing. So I also do believe that there could be seasons. And again, I'm not saying this is for you exactly, because I know it's a whole lot of y'all out there. But I think it's important for you to pray and really acknowledge God. But I do think it's seasons of your life where God would say, the only plan you have is to just go. The only plan you can sometimes have is, I know that it's something like it's time for something more. Sometimes the only plan is, I know that it's time to move. With that though, and I just believe that there are certain seasons where it's just that divine push. But I'm not saying either that you should not look for help along the way, or you should not at least, because that's the thing. And what people don't tend to realize and understand is that it's so important for one to not lean on what has, let me say this, it could be certain past experiences, right? And a lot of times you could use those past things that's happened. So let's say, hey, Alicia, this job I got right now, girl, it was a mess, right? And you could be like, man, I thought that this job was good, but then I found out that it really wasn't all that good. And so now you are holding on to this fear of, what if I choose the wrong job again? And so those past experiences could have you really just doubting yourself. So I think it's really important to have a plan. When I say a plan, I'm not saying, that the plan got to be outlined all the way. Because like I said earlier, a lot of times the more action you take, the more clear you get, and the more you are able to see those steps that are really clear. But I think it's important also to really, like I said before, to be able to identify what is the season that you're in. Because even now, I'm having this business full time. I never could have thought that I would be where I am now. And I didn't have a solid plan, but the plan that I did have in my mind was, this was the kind of life that I want to live. So sometimes that plan is just simply, I don't want this no more. I know I want this, and I need to move away from the things that I don't want. And so, like I said before, because people always want to know what to do, right? Or they always want to know the things that they want now. But I think it's important to get really, really, really clear on what you don't want. Get clear on that. Get clear on, what are you moving away from? Get clear on, what does that next move need to look like? So even though you don't know the steps to take, you at least know what you're on your way to. Because as you get clear on the things that you don't want, and as you say, girl, I don't know what I want, but I know I don't want this. And I know that if I go this way, it's going to move me away from the things that I don't want. And so as you move towards the things that you don't want, now you will eventually run right into what you do. And I tell people, even when you don't necessarily have a really, really clear plan, it's almost like scratching things off of a list, right? So let's say you had this list of things that you really, really don't want anymore. Alicia, I don't want to work long hours. I don't want to work for a boss that breathes down my neck. I don't want to work in finance, whatever. You're getting clear, right? Alicia, I don't want to use these skills anymore, right? So now that you have this list of things that you don't want, and you have been able to identify what is it that you don't want and why, which is also super important, because once you can be able to identify why you don't want something, you're now getting even more clear. Your first thought was, I don't want to change careers. But after you started to get clear on your emotions, why you feel the way that you do, you're like, you know what? I actually like what I do. I just don't like who I work for. So it's not what it is that you do, it's who you do it for, right? And so I think that's really clear too, is to get really clear on, what are you moving away from? Even if you don't have a plan, you know that if I go this way, I'm going in the right direction. And so, Amaris, I hope that helps you to know that you may not have a clear plan, but if you get clear on the things that you want, you can move away from the things that you don't want. And as you move towards the things that you do want, then your path will get clearer and clearer. And I say this because I know everybody don't want to own their own business, because I definitely don't think it's for everybody. I do think people need to find ways to have other streams outside of their job, but I understand that everybody may not want to own their own business. But if you do want to own, right? Again, I'm all about being strategic. If you do want to own something on your own one day, you need to be more strategic about the jobs that you pick, so you can start gaining the skills that you need now to run your own business. You need to let your job let that build your dream. And think about it. Having to run a business, you're definitely going to have sales. You're definitely going to have just all kind of stuff. You're going to have marketing. You're going to have all these different things in your business that you're going to have to do. You need to pick the jobs that's going to give you the skills to be able to run your own business. So when you run your own business, you don't feel like you are starting from scratch, right? But you've already been able to really gain those skills. And also, I tell people, if you want to build something on your own, start to build relationships with the people that you eventually want as customers. So for instance, the example that we just saw, if I was you, and I know that you said you want to do it in 5 years. Now, as far as the 5 year, I don't know why is it 5 years. So I don't want to just throw out any advice. But you definitely want to, or eventually start to build relationships for the people that you eventually want to just sell to. Right. Again, so when you leave your job, you're not feeling like you're starting from scratch because you've already start to put in the work. And also you being able to put the work in now, that is going to make you just more attached to the goal. Because in your, like, trust me, there are going to be times where you're going to get discouraged, right? You're like, man, I know that I want this, man, but it seems like it's not happening. But if you already put in work, if you already put in a lot of work, it won't be that easy to just say, no. It won't be so easy to just give up on that goal because you've been putting in the work. And so even now, even though you say that's 5 years down the road, start putting in the work, right? And I tell people, you may think, hey, this dream can happen in 5 years, but you never know. When you start going all in, it can happen in 3. It can happen in 2. Because I will say this, I do believe that the speed in which we receive our goals, right? Or the speed in which those goals are hit, 90% of the time, it is on us. There are certain things that you can do to reach your goal faster. And so I don't want you guys keep thinking that you keep having to take small little steps. Now, don't get me wrong, you need to start with something. So start with those small steps, right? But I don't want you to think that you always have to take tiny steps, because after those first few steps, you should start to get some strength there, right? You should start seeing yourself operating in a way that you didn't think that you could, and that should make you want to go even harder for yourself, because you guys cannot keep hitting all of your goals at work and you're not hitting any goals in life. You cannot keep hitting all of these goals at work and you're not hitting any goals in your life. Do not make your job more successful than you are. It will take sacrifice. It will take work. Just think about, you just get down and just focus for the next 6 months where you could be, not allowing any excuses to stop you or any fears. But if you can just get serious for the next 6 months and say, man, I'm going all in on me. Just think about how your life could change. Just think about how far you could be. Just simply betting on you, just simply going all in on you. And so when it comes to you guys moving out of this state of being stuck or feeling like, man, I just feel like I just can't get to the place that I desire to be, I want you guys to think about, what can you do to build momentum? Because a lot of times that's really all you need. It's just something to just get you started. And I think what people lean on too much is how they feel. Nope. Because our emotions change so much. You know what I'm talking about. You find yourself at 8:30, you happy, 3:00, I'm done, y'all. I'm done. So I don't think that we need to put so much on our emotions, but I do think that we need to really focus on, am I moving in the right path? And so if all you're doing is you're wanting to wait for some emotion to come, you may be waiting a while, especially if you are in a job now where you're not happy at all. It can be hard to find that excitement to look for a job, especially right now with everything going on. It can be hard to gain that, okay, no. So you have to tell yourself, right now is not a season of, I got to feel like it. You got to tell yourself, this is a season where, look, I got to do what I got to do, because so much is riding on this. It has to come to a point where you're in a season of, I don't feel like it, but I know that I need more. It's just you having to train yourself that I won't let how I feel just run my life. But you get to a point where purpose has to run your life, and you have to be able to realize that your emotions and your overall purpose a lot of times will not be in alignment. Because in order for you to reach that goal, it's going to stretch you beyond yourself. And a lot of times our emotions, they are almost joined with who we are right now. So anything outside of the things you usually do, anything outside of just your average comfort zone, anything outside that line, friend, them emotions gonna be whoop, 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 whoop. They like, calm down, like, wait a minute. Those emotions are like, we don't do this. And so it's so important for you to realize, hey, I may not feel like it, but this is what, and this is the thing, guys, you guys do this every day in your life. I don't think you see it. Like, and when I say that, I mean, you guys move past your emotions every day. For instance, I have a child that is 4 years old, and y'all know kids are a lot. And look, I only have one. Folks ask me all the time. I be like, I don't think I'm going to have, it's a lot. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I'm struggling with one, and you want me to have another one? I can't. Folks with like 3, 4, and 5, I'd be like, I just don't. Well, it's sometimes, y'all, I don't be in the mood when she's want to throw one of her little fits, or she's want to ask me a 1,000 things, and I'm exhausted, I'm tired. My emotions is saying, girl, go sit down. My emotions is not there, but my purpose is motherhood. My love for my child will have me to sit there and talk with her about stuff that I really just don't care about. So at that moment, I'm having to override how I feel, and I'm having to operate in purpose. I say that because, again, you guys do this all the time. You guys override how you feel all the time. You guys push past those emotions and do what you need to do. Times when you've been in relationships with men that you knew you shouldn't. You knew he went out there for the 5th time and cheated on you. And guess what? Your emotions are hurt. You feel disrespected. But you know what you did? You overrode them emotions and you went back to them. You ignored all of the red flags. Child, you ignored the hurt, the pain, the shame. You ignored it all and you ran back to them. You you was able to get past your emotions. So don't think that, okay, so I have to just ignore how I feel. You know how to do this, right? And it's like, how much more should you be this way towards those goals that you really want, towards that change that you really, really need? How much more should you be like this towards the things in your life that you really, really want? But it comes to a point, y'all, where you got to say enough is enough. You have to say enough is enough. It comes to a point where you have to say, I'm holding me back. Again, being self-aware, holding yourself accountable, where you say, nobody else is in my way but me. It's me. And then thinking about, what is it going to cost you to stay where you are? Being able to identify, what is it going to cost you to stay where you are? I don't think people understand what they lose, like what is being lost when they don't take the action that they know that they need to take. And not need to take, but the action that they take, the action that they should have been took. This is not just oh girl, leave your job. No, this is something for you to examine. Anything in your life, in your career, with your friendships, with your spouse. You can literally use this live stream for any of that. Like, what are those things in your life that you know that you should have been moved away from? What are those things in your life that you know, if I would have left this alone, I could be so much more than where I am now? Even in your job, I should have been had this conversation with my boss. You can say, I should have been asked for a raise. I should have been raising my hand up to share the ideas that I have, right? You should say, I should have been trying to build those relationships with those key folks, but it's just been me. Every time I get to the point of where I know that it's an action I need to take, fear comes, self-doubt comes. And the reason why these emotions come, because it really is just basic science. Like, your brain, it'll cause you to feel fear whenever you try to do anything new. Like your brain is like, wait a minute, hold up. We don't do this. This is something new. Stop. And so you find yourself just fear is just rushing in now because your brain is like, chill. How many know that there are certain things, certain times of your life, certain seasons where you like, brain, you may not understand, but God said go. So, brain, you better just hold on for just a minute and enjoy the ride because we're about to go, right? And so it's important for you to get to a place where you don't live your life based upon fear or self-doubt. And I see this so much in the clients that I work with. Got so many receipts, so many results, so many successes, but they cannot bring themselves to a point of just self-belief, right? They cannot bring themselves to a point to where they can get past them feeling insecure. And a lot of this stuff comes from, I say this all the time, a lot of this stuff comes from my childhood. It comes from just past things that we went through, right? Especially if in your family, if you was the one that kind of just held everything up all the time, if you're like the actual, I forgot the word that they use. You're the backbone of everything. Like you the one that hold everything up. Like all your friends, they always come to you for all the answers and support. That will breed imposter syndrome because everything in your life has told you you're the one, and you would think it would be the opposite. You would think, man, if everybody else has so much faith in me, then I should be sure. It don't work like that. It will have you feeling even more insecure because now it's some kind of pressure there of I got to do right. I got to perform. I got to always be at my best because I got so much riding on me. Because everybody else sees you as so capable, right? That breeds imposter syndrome now because you're like, look, Alicia, when I step out, when I do make a move, it got to be right. Right? Because everybody around you has always pumped you up as some kind of, you don't want to go to. So now when it's time to do something for you, you put that same weight on you. Hey, you got to do right. You don't give yourself no grace to fail. You don't give yourself no grace to just try something. No, because every time we step out, we got to step out right. And you don't realize that right now, you don't need right. Right now, you don't need right. What you need is growth. What you need is to stretch yourself beyond where you are. What you need is for you to understand and realize and to give yourself grace to do something new. And so you have all of this from everybody else, right? And this is what happens a lot. When you live your life like this, you get the, oh, girl. Oh, girl, you this. Oh, girl, you that. Oh, you get the applause and the claps from everybody else and you're miserable. Everybody else is saying, girl, you should be happy. What's the problem, girl? And you are miserable. You have now created a career. You have now created a life that everybody else enjoys but you because you have not released yourself from, my life is not a stage. I'm not here to perform for anybody. My life is a way that I can use my skills, my gifts, or whatever to glorify God. That's it. I'm not on the stage trying to perform for anybody. I'm not on the stage to sing the right songs for anybody. I'm not on the stage. No. But a lot of you guys have made your life a stage to where you got to do the right thing. You got to show up a certain way. Everybody got to agree with everything that you do. Everybody has to just validate everything that you do. You could have a great idea. God could have been putting something on your heart for months. But if the people around you don't agree, I ain't doing that. You live a life of performing. And this is the reason why you don't know who you are. This is the reason why you feel stuck. When you find yourself in a box, you find yourself trapped. You find yourself almost just living a lie. But as long as everybody else is pleased, no. No. What that does is that breeds bitterness. Now, the same friends, family that's, girl, you doing good, girl. The same ones that Now you are just bitter at them. But the only person that you have to blame is yourself, right? Because they're meant more than your happiness. They're meant more than your purpose. But now you come to a point where you have to make a choice. Will I continue to build based upon what seems comfortable, based upon what seems safe, based upon what seems acceptable? Or is it time for you to get clear on what you need right now and be willing to take the risk because you are worth the risk, right? And move into what it is that you know that you want. Even the clients that I coach, I tell them all the time, I'm like, yeah, I'm here for this, but it's so much more than just your job. It's so much more than just a role, or it's so much more than that. And I tell them, I'm not trying to change how you are at work. I'm trying to change you, because once you fix that, once you fix this, friend, all of that is going to fall in place. Once you get clear on the life that you want, and you get clear on what you want and what you don't want, everything else is going to fall in place, right? But the reason you find yourself stuck is because, again, you keep leaning on fear and you keep leaning on what everybody else thinks. But you get to a point where you're like, you know what? I'm not doing this no more. And you start to identify what it's costing you. And especially of us who have kids, or even if you desire to have kids. Now that I have a child, I see now that it's even more important to, like Alicia, you got to get your stuff right. You got to get yourself right. Like, you are raising a child and she sees everything you do. She sees how you respond, and so it got to be more than just about you. And even if you don't have kids, sometimes it's like you got to be able to be the example of what's possible. It's so important for us to see that a lot of our ways are just self-sabotaging. And I know I don't sound like an average coach out here, because all these career coaches be like, fix your resume, girl. Go apply. Girl, friend, okay, hold on for a minute. Hold on. We're going to get there, okay? But I need to get clear. I need you to get clear on what you want and what are those blind spots. I said all the time, you can't use new jobs as Band-Aid. You cannot use a new job as a Band-Aid to issues that you don't want to address. So yes, I very well desire for you to have your dream job and to make all the money that you want to make. But I don't want you to just sacrifice yourself, and I don't want you to just keep trying to shrink yourself to get the jobs that you want, because you're going to be miserable, right? So let's be able to identify those blind spots and give yourself the grace, give yourself the permission to go after what you want, right? And so this is past, oh, I'm just not happy with my job. There's something more there. I ain't no therapist, but there's something more there. And now I'm not saying, it's a thing, I'm not saying that you may not experience hurt, right? And I'm not saying at these jobs folks be doing everything right, because I know that's a lot. Like I told y'all, I was in HR for over 10 years. So when it comes to operating in that world, I know what it's about, right? But again, it all goes back to you. And I say this because you cannot control what they do, but you will always be in control of you, right? And a lot of times you could experience things at work and you'll cause yourself to get out of character to address something at work, when the reason that thing even happened was to show you it's time to move on. But what happens is you take the signs that it's time to move on, and you take those signs and you respond in the wrong way. And not only do you just damage your name, because you are only thinking about how to react and not thinking about how to respond. Example, when somebody says something at work that you don't like, you react by throwing off, popping off, but you need to respond by first being able to identify what is the problem here. How should I respond? Sometimes you responding is you not even responding at all. Sometimes we don't know the power in being silent. When I say silent, I'm not saying to just let folks just walk all over you. But anytime you respond to something, you let that person know that you deserve a response. But sometimes being silent is enough to let that other side know that all of this that you're giving me right now is not worth my energy. But you would literally go back and forth, use all your energy, get stressed out over somebody you say that you don't care about. It don't look like it. I've learned that, for one, I don't have to fight my battles. Lord, you see this. Two, I also learned that your delivery can downgrade your message. You could very well have a point. You could very well be right, but it's your delivery of it, because you have not been taught how to not agree with somebody and still be able to communicate with them. Because what you think is, if I respond back with because I'm upset or whatever, we use these ways to just protect ourselves. But the only thing that you are really keeping yourself from is the growth that you need. And there is another scripture. The Bible says, when you do good to those who do wrong to you, it says, you reap hot coals of fire on their head. That means, what that's saying is that when you, and this scripture is Romans 12:20. It says that you reap hot coals of fire on their head. What that's saying is that when you do good to somebody who's doing wrong to you, they gonna feel bad. Even though it may not seem like it, but when you respond the right way, when they respond the wrong way, they don't know what to do with you. And I say this because they don't know what to do with you. Why? Because 99% of people is going to react the same way. Oh, they tell me something, I'm gonna tell them something. That's how almost everybody responds. But when you can respond the right way, they don't know what to do with you. This is not to tell you, oh, just let people do whatever. But my point is that your response does not have to be based on their response. That is where the true self-control comes into play. That is when the true discipline comes into play. And when things happen at work that you don't necessarily agree with, you can still show up and operate in your expertise. You can still show up and operate in your expertise, and you can still operate in excellence, because a lot of you have amazing skill sets and results. But anytime you get hurt, upset, anything, you shut down. And you haven't learned how to address how you feel, but not lean on how you feel. You find yourself sometimes stuck in roles because you're like, I don't understand. I have the experience, right? And there are some times when you won't, because there are some spaces that they don't want to see you advance, but everybody ain't like that. The expertise is there, the experience is there, the result is there. But for them, again, how you show up, your delivery can overshadow your expertise, right? And I don't know how we got on this. We was supposed to be talking about goals, but we end up getting way over here. But I want you guys to know that. And I know this is a lot opposite of what you hear, because folks out there be saying, oh, you ain't got to take that. I'll say this. I do believe that every space is not for you. And that's why I say when these things happen, it could be signs to leave, but you take those signs as a way to just pop off. It's important for you to realize, if you do have a desire to leave your job, think this: is it a time to go, or is it a time to grow? Meaning that, is the reason why you don't want to stay there, is it because there are things that you may have to do that I'm not used to this, and this could be an opportunity to stretch yourself? Or is it time to go because what you need in life, that job just don't support that, right? So if you are wanting to leave your job, think this: am I running away from, or am I running to? I'm gonna say it again. When you want to leave your job, think this: am I running away from something, or am I trying to run to something? That could look like, am I wanting to leave hard conversations that I know that I should be having, but I just don't want to deal with them no more. When you don't realize that everywhere you go, every job you have, there's going to be different personalities. Or are you wanting, is it your desire to run towards more? Right. So if there's any particular topics that you guys want me to talk on, please let me know. But I'm so glad you guys enjoyed this. And so if that's not it, I will talk to you guys later.